Right, good day. This is again the retirement show. And today on the retirement show, I want to look at something that is very key in our lives, particularly as we start planning for our future, as we start planning for retirement. So I want to look at the things that you need to do, particularly that will help you to save up for retirement now that you are still actively working. Now that you are actively working, it is now that you must start planning for the next phase of life. Remember that we plan for this phase of life, this earning phase of life, by going to school in the past. So when you were going to school in the past, you were preparing for this phase of life. Now we are in this phase of life where we are earning. The next phase of life inevitably becomes the retirement phase of life. So we are going to get there whether we like it or not. As long as there is life, as long as we live, we are going to get to that stage of retirement. You know, retirement does not just happen to anybody. Retirement comes, and it's a process. It comes gradually. So in the course of moving towards your retirement on a daily basis, you must start consciously and deliberately putting plans in place on how to save up for that point in time in life. Somebody once asked me, Emmanuel, how much can I even save that will take me through my retirement life? Do I even know how long I'm going to live when I retire? I said, well, we cannot put a particular figure to it that this is the amount you are going to be saving for you to be able to have a good and a quality retirement life. But you are going to be more confident, you are going to be more comfortable when you have some money saved up there that will help you in your retirement life. And you are going to be more comfortable when you have an investment that is generating income for you even while you are retired. So I'll be looking at 4 things that you need to do now that will help you to have a proper lifestyle in your retirement. One, immediately, is that you must live within your means. You must look for how to live within the space of your income. You cannot be earning X and you want to live a lifestyle of XY. Then who finance or who takes care of the Y element in your lifestyle? If you are earning X, can you live within that X? If possible, or where possible, can you even live below the X? Because I actually recommend that you live below your income. Now, the question is, the salary I'm earning today is not enough. So how do I survive when you are saying I should live below my income? Now, the truth is that there is a space for everybody under the sun. There is a space for you when you earn X amount. There is a space for you when you earn XY amount. There is a space for you when you also earn XYZ amount. Sometimes it bothers me and I ask questions a lot. I see a young man that works at the gate as a security man, and I asked him one day, I said, come, how much is your salary? And the young man said his salary is 30,000 naira. I was like, wow, how do you survive with 30,000 naira? And he said, oh, guy, I survive. So, which means there is a space for every income level. It survives with 30,000 naira, as small as that will be. So, let us live within the space of our income, and where possible, let's live below our income. And these are a few things that we can do to ensure that we live within or below our income. We must always spend less than we earn. We cannot be earning a little and you want to spend more. And how do you spend less than you earn? Let's take, for instance, education. You want to send your children to school, you still have kids that are still young that are going to school, and your interest when you start making choice of school is to look for the most expensive schools around just because other people are there, or you believe that is where your children are going to be mixing with the children of the rich. So for that reason, you want your children to go to such school. I see people doing that a lot in this town, trying to put their children children in schools that they cannot obviously afford, but because they feel that the children will mix up with the children of the rich, so they go all out to put their children in that school and do everything, sometimes even getting into debt, to ensure that their children are in those schools. The truth is that you necessarily don't need that big name school for your children to learn. The essence of going to school is for the children to be educated. The essence is for the children to learn. So if the essence is for the children to learn, why must it be that it is only in that school they will learn? Of course, they will mix up with people that are in quote of class that you think, but that has nothing to do with life in future. Now, the point here is, you can take your children to school that you can afford. 1 + 1 is 2. Wherever you take these kids to, whether they are going to prime school or non-prime school, 1 + 1 remains 2 everywhere. So look for school that you can afford and put your kids in those schools that you can afford, and save up some money for yourself, particularly towards your retirement. Also, we want to look at your accommodation, where you stay. Now, we all know that housing could be very expensive in some areas and it could be cheaper in another area. For instance, in Abuja here where we stay, there are areas where housing becomes very expensive. There are other areas that are a little affordable. If you are within the average income bracket, you have no business thinking of staying in those areas where housing are more expensive. For instance, in this town, Abuja here, you're talking about Maitama, you're talking about Sokoro, you're talking about Wusetu, you're talking about Guzape. These are highbrow areas. These are prime areas where housing are very, very expensive. And your income bracket is within the average income bracket. And you want to stay in those areas because you think you want to rub shoulder with the rich. Yes, you are going to rub shoulder with the rich. But what about the future? How are you considering your future? Because a time is coming, you are not going to be earning this money again. A time is coming, you'll be retired naturally. How have you planned for that phase of life? It is now that you are actively working that you will be able to plan for that phase of life. Another point I want to look at quickly, point number 2, is that you want to be careful of unnecessary expenses. Expenses that are not called for, expenses that are sometimes unnecessary. Now, what do I mean by unnecessary expenses? Now, you are just there because you are working now. You become the go-to person in your community. You become the go-to person amongst your peers. You become the go-to person among your equals. You become the go-to person among your friends. And anytime any of them have challenges, you are the one to call first. Oh, hello, I have this challenge. I will need some money. Now, this is what I tell people that are trying to save money and prepare for retirement. You don't necessarily need to be stingy, but you have to be prudent. You don't need to be stingy, but you have to be prudent. Now, how do you now become prudent in this case? It's not every of these people that calls for money, or these persons that calls for money, that you oblige and give money to. By the time you start bothering yourself with how to meet up and solve everybody's problems, then the point is that you are going to kill yourself. You cannot solve everybody's problem. Take care of the much you can do and leave the rest. Whether you are there or you are not there, the problems will solve itself. For instance, if you were not working or you are not in the position you are in now, and these guys have the same problem, are they not going to solve the problems? Surely they are going to solve the problems. They are going to look for a way around it. So be careful of unnecessary expenses. Don't just dish out money because you are working. Be conscious of tomorrow. Be conscious of the fact that a time is coming and you are going to exit this workspace. A time is coming, you are going to be retiring. Whether you like it or not, that time will come as long as you are living as human being. Number 3 is that consciously save at least 10% of your income every month. The question here will be, how much am I earning? I'm not able to meet my needs with the little I'm earning. How can I be saving 10% of what I'm earning again? Please, I cannot do that. But let me tell you this. The right word here is necessarily not saving. The right word here will therefore be storing. Storing 10% of whatever you have now. For every dime you earn, store 10% aside. Why do I use the word storing? It's because when you keep the money aside 10% every month, after a while, the money becomes substantial. You can now move that volume of money from wherever you are storing it into an investment instrument that has the potential to pay you in perpetuity. What are those kind of investments that can pay or that can grow in perpetuity? For instance, landed property investment will continuously pay, will always increase in value. So instead of just keeping the money in a financial house or in a bank, store the money in a bank, pull the money from the bank when it's substantial enough, and invest in landed property. You can also think of investing in stock. You want to invest in stock. You want to look at companies that are doing very well, and you want to pull your money in and invest in those windows. You want to also invest in government bond, which is more secure, very, very secure, and pay you some measure of sustainable return every now and then. Now, this is also very risky. The next point, cryptocurrency. But of course, it's risky, it's very volatile, but in the long run, it's an instrument, it's an investment window that can guarantee some measure of return in the long run, sometimes even very substantial return in the long run. But the most important thing you want to consider here is that you store 10% of your income every month. When it becomes substantial enough, you pull it out and you put it in an instrument that has the potential to regenerate and create wealth for you. And finally, I will advise that you avoid impulsive buying. Avoid buying things because you just see it, you like it, and you just buy. When you buy impulsively without a plan, you discover that oftentimes you'll be wasting your resources, because some of the things you buy impulsively, you may certainly not even need these things at the end of the day. By the time you go back home and you look at it again, you like, I really may not need this thing. So you want to be living on budget. So my advice here is that for every month, have a budget of how you want to spend your money. How much am I giving to relative friends and people around me? How much am I spending for my immediate family? How much am I spending for food? How much am I spending for my children's education? How much am I spending for accommodation? Have a budget every month and try to live strictly within that budget and store money that you can invest. And at the end of the day, when you retire, you have reasons to smile because you have sufficient resources that will help you not to run out of money before you run out of life.